welcome to another episode of To Boldly Watch. I'm Ensign Becca.
I'm civilian Jake Michels.
Oh,
Today?
welcome to the
Wow.
ship.
I've been decommissioned for a time.
Okay, we're
I
going to
will
have you
be-
stay in your quarters, please. We're on yellow alert.
I'll be showing you to your quarters. I am Lieutenant Commander and I guess Transporter Chief Xander Jeanneret.
Oh, thank you so much. So is this new carpet? It smells great in here.
Oh yeah, everything, new upholstery, all of it.
We
Wow.
replicate a new one every week because stains are a pain to clean.
Yeah, I was wondering why was there carpet on a starship, but you just replicate new carpet every week, huh?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we just had a bunch of hay and some chickens and pigs running around. So, yeah, we just thought replicate some new carpet here.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, well,
Well,
any
at least-
rooms that we're not using, we'll just drape in some carpeting and just hope for the best, and then dust and stuff will accumulate.
Well, that's good because my last assignment there was just wires hanging everywhere.
Well, if you need a wire, just grab
Just
one.
use
Oh,
it.
I
You can.
have a feeling.
Every ship is like a Lego structure, right?
Yeah.
You could just remove a block from somewhere
Yeah.
and place it somewhere else.
That's the magic.
That's right. It's peak performance.
Woohoo!
The technically penultimate episode of season 2, where a Starfleet wargame simulation pitting Captain Picard and the Enterprise against Commander Riker and the 80-year-old starship Hathaway is interrupted by an attack from the Ferengi.
Da-da-da.
Spoilers!
Well,
I mean,
That's Act 4 stuff.
I know, but
you kind
you
of
watch the
forget.
episode.
Yeah.
You kind of forget you kind of forget the main problem in the fourth and fifth act.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what's one of the most annoying things someone can do is follow too closely behind you. I mean, obviously in a car, but I mean physically in person. Yeah, just walk like a foot behind somebody. They're going to hate it.
But if
like-
you're observing, you need to see everything.
Oh, you mean like Zactor Master Strategist Sirna Kolrami, who is hailing Riker?
Here's the thing. I've seen all of these episodes, and some of these things are my favorite parts of Star Trek. But as soon I forget things all the time. As soon as this guy's face showed up, I was like, "This fucking guy!" I had like a visceral reaction, like, "Oh yeah."
I didn't know what I would think of him at the beginning, and I wrote down cute little slimy weirdo. I don't maintain that opinion. I take out the cute part.
He's one of those adversaries in the show that I really appreciate from an acting standpoint because he made a lot of great choices. Like, I think it's obnoxious to follow someone that closely, and guess what? He's a really obnoxious character.
It's a great choice.
Yeah, and I think the delivery of him is really wonderful. And if you hate him that much, then that means he's doing his job. Like with some people, with some of our adversaries, they've also been like just annoyingly illogical and like stubborn for no reason. Whereas this guy, his personality is to be an ass to other people because he doesn't respect people who are, I guess, lesser than him in strategy.
Right.
Which is really interesting. So there's this discussion on the bridge about Zach Dorns in general, and they are considered the most innately strategic minds in the galaxy. And Worf challenges this by saying, hasn't anybody fought them recently? And they're saying, oh, no, they're too strategic minded and the ultimate warriors. And so nobody challenges them. And it's like, perhaps their reputation is stronger than their prowess.
But
we don't
perhaps
meet any.
Reputation is all you need.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the psychological warfare is and the threat, like table talk or intimidation, is so important, even in high-level competitive gaming, like that of Strategema.
Right? Strategema.
Yep, I didn't write down my pronunciation guide,
It's all good.
but neither did Riker, because the first time he says it, he's like, "I would like to challenge you in Strategema."
Yeah, I challenge you in hegemony. Hegemony.
Hegemony. A hegemony is the type of government I want to run.
That's actually a great idea. I like this policy position.
Right under my notes in this, I have this fucking guy, and then I have right underneath, I love Pulaski, and I'm sure, I assume it's for a variety of reasons, but right at that moment, I just felt the need to write out, I love Dr. Catherine Pulaski.
So Pulaski kind of did something I was a little like, what's going on with her this episode? Which is that she's like, we need to tear this motherfucker down.
I love
like,
it.
I want to drop him a peg. with Data's knee. Like she was
bust him
very ready for bust him up. Yeah, that's a phrase.
Yeah,
that she
Bust
encourages.
makes me feel good.
Yeah.
That's the least doctor like she's been though.
She would not be a part of the hegemony
No.
culture, which, by the way, there is a politician that's all for hegemony, and it was Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, but she thinks that would be like the vaccine too, so we can't really.
Hegemony.
Before we get to the strategy, there was also the Riker swaying Worf into this, because Worf was initially pretty reluctant to even like participate in this. He was kind of down on it.
In the war games. Riker being pretend captain of the Hathaway, and then when the war games ensue, they're going to pretend to fight each other, but it's all going to be sort of simulated.
And
what
so
a fun premise for an episode. And I was like, this would be a good Star Trek Adventures thing with like competing tables and stuff to have like a simulated combat. I think this was a really cool idea for an episode.
It's a legit fun episode, I think.
Yeah, we got to see the characters be good at their jobs.
Yeah.
Do you guys know anything about how the U.S. actually does strategize with war games, with simulations? Oh, yeah, this is like a Pentagon exercise of this, like scenarios where someone's playing Russia and then actually, we're getting attacked and this freighter was bombed or whatever. And that sort of like this war games are, go deep. And I think there's a parallel between Strategema, Hiroshima.
We're gonna accept them. We're gonna accept them both.
And I think they're drawing that parallel of like being the mastermind of a game is the same in war and tabletop gaming. There you go.
I thought they did similar to the last episode. They did a great job of tying themes in to everybody's plot point, which is about confidence, right? And being okay with making mistakes and just trying something new. And I love that everybody has like a confidence issue that we all at least address or somewhat resolve in this episode.
Yeah, well, and I think that having Riker go through that selection process really gives a highlight and makes this an ensemble episode, because he has to use different tactics to get people on his crew, from Geordi to Worf. Like, he knows how to speak their language, or like what they're good at, enough to have them come on board with them.
I felt like it was the setup to an Ocean's 11 style heist. Riker going in and saying, "Worf, that's just the kind of thing I need on my team. You're in."
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Look, that's the Rick and Morty episode where they do that sort of thing, and then everybody has to say the line, "Son of a bitch, I'm in."
Son of a bitch. I also like that we start with Worf in his quarters, like trying to ship build very delicately, and he just shatters it. And I imagine when he swept it into the drawer, there's just a bunch of other broken ships in that drawer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I love that we got Riker's persuasion in there. He's like convincing him that, I guess we're outmatched. There's nothing we can do. And the old reverse psychology of making Worf sell himself for it. Yeah. It's great.
And it's not hard. Like, Worf knows that he's being played and wants to. You see that relationship between them as a real captain and first officer.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely trying to connect Worf to it as opposed to like tricking him into it. Then we get that match of Strategema, which is a finger-based dexterity mental tactic game that happens on 3 different planes, apparently.
Nailed it.
That's some intense finger wiggling the actors have to do. And additionally, all those extras / other cast members who have to stand around them cheering intensely. Like,
that
was you're doing it, Jada. You're doing it. Go, come on.
Go, Riker, you got this. Yeah. To the left.
God, it was so bad.
Think harder. Think faster.
Yeah. Come on.
What do you say?
You got this.
Wiggle more intensely.
Games of strategy depend so much on speed.
Right.
I've been playing a lot of chess, and let me tell you, this is no chess.
Well, this is before the days of esports or large Magic the Gathering competitions, so I assume the director is like, think of it like a football game, things that you would cheer from the stands. It's like sports, right? With the finger wiggling.
It is quiet anticipation, deep study. Think of Queen's Gambit and the audience in awe. Quite suspense. More like a tennis match, I guess.
I mean, that would have been a little bit more interesting to watch. I think they tried to give us some intensity / action, but that's not how this was delivered at all. Especially because it ends so quickly, and it's like, well, friendly rematch since that took 0.8 seconds. Like, let's see it again.
Got the crowd here.
No, we got to keep the stakes high. So we move on. The USS Hathaway, a Constellation class starship, I believe it is, appears, and we go on board to give it the inspection, and it is a mess. What has happened? I don't know. Like, it's just in poor shape.
I don't think it's Constellation class, but just so nobody comes for me, because the Constellation class, I think, is something else.
Okay, let's actually. I mean, we have the internet.
This is important.
This is important to me. USS Hathaway.
Yeah.
Constellation class.
Oh, so modified Constellation class, because I thought
modified. You're both right.
Do you need to put on some glasses so you can push them further up the bridge of your nose when you say that? So it is modified. Okay, well, if you had said that, then I wouldn't have corrected you, but we can continue.
I know that there are some people that are very into Star Trek ships, and I am not one of those people.
No, I am. And so I appreciate your clarification for sure. Yes, modified. I think it has 4 nacelles instead of 2.
Yeah. If you were to open Jake Michels' desk drawers, you would just find all kinds of ships.
Broken starships as well. I am not good at building those.
But they're having a tough time on the Hathaway because it's so lame. It's like, hold on. But for this simulation to make sense, shouldn't we have an even playing field? But old Kohlrami says, well, it is anticipated that the stronger opponent should win, or something like that. I didn't write it down.
Well, I liked that, though. It's a mismatch. And he's like, yep, it's a mismatch, and you're going to have to try harder. You're going to have to overcome your deficiency in this case, right? And so I was like, that's what's endeared me more to this jerk a little bit, because he actually has a point about what he's trying to accomplish. He's doing it in a rude way, but like, I like that there is a logical and effective strategy that he has.
It only pissed off Pulaski more.
Yeah, that's true. But we also found out specifically from Picard that this is in response to the Borg attacks. And so having a training that would be cobbling together parts of mismatched ships could very well be the scenario that you're in when you're coming across the Borg. And
that's a good point.
So I feel like this scenario was tailored specifically for something they might run into.
Wait, did they say Borg in this episode?
Yeah,
because Picard, I think, let's see, how does it work out? So during the first conversation, Cerna Kohlrami says, Picard, I can tell you're like hesitant about all this. And Picard says, well, we're an exploratory force. That's what Starfleet is. We're not military. But I requested this because with the Borg as a looming threat, we need to be prepared for everything.
Exactly. Yeah, let's get to step 1 here, because we got to get to step 300 to be near their level.
Yeah.
Really good point.
So then meanwhile, Data gets talked into challenging Cerna Kohlrami, and this is like where we realize that
he wasn't asked.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he was asked. He was pleaded with silently, with a mouth of please.
But very key to what he says is like when they tell him that that guy needs to get knocked down a peg, he goes, to what end? And they all smile, and then the camera cuts to a different part of the scene. I'm like, that's a good question.
It is a good question.
That's a good question. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Just crush this idiot.
Bust him up.
Because we don't like arrogance.
Yeah.
I mean, which is a valid point.
But also, we were speaking the last episode of a reflection of season 1 Worf. We could see how this could be a reflection of the beginning of Pulaski's relationship to the Enterprise. Someone coming in seemingly condescending, just trying to help, rubbing the crew the wrong way. You know what I mean? So Pulaski could see a lot of herself in this sort of new person.
Sure.
So she wants to destroy him.
She must destroy him to establish dominance.
Yes.
Well, Data fails to destroy him. In fact, he gets his clock clean, and it actually saps his confidence. So we have another person with confidence issues. In addition to...
he has no ego,
it's
no
not
heart.
Confidence. That's not the issue. He's just could make a mistake.
You know what I thought? A suggestion of alternate plot when this happened was... Data is reeling because he's replaying it and he can't figure out what he did wrong or if he made any mistakes and doesn't believe that he did. And it made me think this guy's definitely cheating, which would be an analogy to war games and how anything it goes when it's
and how Wesley's a little scamp.
I like that we all believed that because I think we all fell for that theory, which is actually I think what the writers maybe wanted you to possibly think, especially with Data being like, I made no mistakes and I've been analyzing it and nothing is wrong. So it's like our conspiracy minds are like, a cheater. Now how will we unearth what he did? But it's much better that he didn't cheat and he really truly is superior. And as Picard says when he tries to win Data's confidence back, it's like it's possible to still lose and make no mistakes. And that's such a great life lesson.
That is, out of all of Star Trek, this is my favorite quote. This one that Picard says, it's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not weakness, that is life. Like,
I agree.
That is just a mantra that I absolutely love. And whenever anybody is like, oh, you're very into Star Trek, this is the quote that I forget that it's the episode with this fucking guy.
It's kind of Kobayashi?
Kobayashi.
Yeah.
Well, that's like there is no win scenario, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is the different philosophy of that. Like there are no such things as no win scenario is a hopeful look of like there's always an alternative, but it's not your fault if you did everything to the best of your ability and you still lost. That happens. It just has to be accepted as a fact.
Yeah, I guess I don't like the idea of Kobayashi Maru because isn't that saying essentially like everything is a zero-sum game and you must get something back for it to have been worthy in some way?
Well, that's at the end of a Starfleet Academy training, and so it's just prepping them for these no-win scenarios and seeing how they would react in that situation. That's the Kobayashi Maru.
Right. So these two philosophies are kind of divergent in what they're doing, but they exist in the same reality, right? Like there may be situations that you cannot win, but it's not necessarily by your actions that you lost them. Like
and
by no action.
This is where we come to the next point of the episode is style. We see Picard stand up for Riker's style of captaining. Picard follows the same guidelines as every other Starfleet officer, same as Kirk, same as Riker, same as anybody else. But his philosophy is different in a sense, but that's his style of captaining to uphold those ideals. As long as the spirit as intended is still there, that's what I think is inspirational about it.
I loved Picard confronting Kohlrami. Like that's how I figured everybody in Starfleet would react to him instead of like having the intention of taking him down a peg, because shame's not the best way to change someone's behavior, but like having him dress him down and be like, look, you've been degrading to people and I don't understand why. And you need to like not be a dick.
Yeah.
Specifically to Riker.
Yeah, very much to Riker. And so, but then Kohlrami reveals that, I've been looking at this Riker fellow and he's got too much swagger to him. And
he's too jovial.
He's too jovial. And it's like,
horny is too much on Maine.
It's on Maine.
Isn't one of the heroes of Starfleet, Captain James Tiberius Kirk, whose like main account is literally just called horny? Like, I mean,
and reckless.
Right? So I don't know. I was a little skeptical of that, but I still love the particularness of this guy. So I love that he still kind of defended himself and didn't back down from that. Just as an adversarial point, not that I agree with him.
Right. Well, and as much as we tend to lump these alien species into characteristics, Riker is like the epitome of what other species think of as human. Like he's impulsive, he's horny, he's reckless, he's adaptable. But it's like, come on. But Picard, on the other hand, sees like you can see this other side of humanity.
Right. It's a very Amerocentric view of what humanity will be like in the future, because those are very American qualities, I would think.
Exactly.
I just like on the alien Wikipedia, the first three like entries are horny, impulsive, horny, and what?
Reckless.
Not wrong.
I'll take it.
Really?
Oh, so you've met humans.
So Data, I guess, okay, we won't say lose confidence. He feels vulnerable, right? He realizes that his programming might not always win him a challenge or solve a scenario, I suppose.
He really spirals. He thinks that he is malfunctioning and can't be trusted because he can't understand what he did wrong, and therefore there must be something wrong with him in all aspects. And he was like, basically, don't trust me. I'm going to stay locked in here. I don't know. Goodbye.
Well, it's great that you said spiraling, because if we look at it from like a mechanical perspective, he basically went into a recursive loop, and he cascaded. He's in this same thing of like, I could make a mistake, so I can't go out there, and I have to check myself so there's no mistakes.
But if I'm checking myself, I could make a mistake, and if I make a
Exactly.
mistake when checking myself, then I can make.
It's very much a computer programming. Like, it's just recursive.
Dear humans listening that may have any depression and or anxiety, this is what it looks like on the outside. Just go out there. You're going to be fine on the bridge. Who cares if you make a mistake? Yeah. It's just a starship.
And also, it might be a fault of your programming and not you as a person.
There you go.
Well, also, like, even a person with no fault of programming, or however you want to phrase it, is still very susceptible to confidence issues. Like, all of us go through this at some time or another. We've talked about imposter syndrome, I think, before. I mean, this is everyday stuff. It's like, how do we believe in ourselves to be able to accomplish this? And which I love that both crews of the Hathaway and the Enterprise are like, knowing this is a weird scenario, but they're all giving it their best. And like, they make a big deal of that throughout all of the dialogue in this episode, is everybody's going to try like hell, even though this isn't real.
Yeah. And the quest should always be to dissolve the ego, well knowing it is an impossible task. Wow. That's my personal journey.
Did anybody notice Ensign Nagel? She's the woman with blonde hair who is constantly physically in between Riker and Worf on the Hathaway.
Yes.
Great. I really noticed her and needed her to not be in the frame. Because like during two different conversations, she like threw herself in there.
Well,
she wanted to get a line, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, she really got it.
Well, not only that, but if you kind of look at the optics of it, everybody that Riker chose was a male officer, and so it's a sausage fest on the Hathaway. There are a few, like you can see in the background, there might be a few female officers that were like extras. But to have one just be like, can we just get a lady in the shot, please?
There are no, now that we've lost Tasha Yar, there are no like women in command roles beyond. I mean, obviously the doctor is, but like
head doctor,
but like not like in the I guess any battle scenario situation, like anything else that goes with ship stuff. So that's really interesting. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah.
And I'm just quickly rewatching it. There's the woman with blonde hair who's facing forward. There's someone else working on the panels with a bun and a female-looking build. And then also on the Enterprise, there's a woman on the back panel. But they were like, so many dudes. And we have kind of set a precedent of always having equality on the ship. And the bridge is no longer representing that. Yeah. So I guess they were like, they're
not consistent with it for sure.
Where's Troy? She should be on the bridge.
Yeah, she should have been on the other ship with Riker. Oh, that unbeatable combo.
But she's got to be on the Enterprise trying to take Kohlrami down a peg as well.
Right.
So Picard goes and reassures Data, as we talked about, and does our favorite quote. And I loved that very quick scene, actually. That scene was like only maybe 90 seconds long, but really was the most impactful for me, and really did a good job of just saying, hey, look, this is life. And I love that that's a very important thing to Data, is telling him that that's a part of life. Is then he can understand that he doesn't quite understand, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny, too, because in modern Trek, in the new Picard series, they really go into that Picard had a really special relationship with Data, the two of them. And I remember I didn't think that, like, I didn't see it overtly more than the relationship with anyone else in Data. But watching it again now with those eyes, I'm like, oh, yeah, Picard and Data really do become close.
Mm-hmm.
And like
especially in the episode where he defends Data's humanity or worth.
I thought this one was particularly in that vein as well.
Yeah. And Pulaski is really establishing herself as the no-nonsense, tough love mom.
I love her.
Well, let's see. We have Data's counter Riker tactics, where he is trying to outthink his own outthinking, which I love is another loop problem for poor Data. And then we reveal that there's going to be some holographic games going on. So, like, I guess they can replicate the Enterprise believing that Romulans are attacking. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, and it seems outside of the scope a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can see exactly
he hacked
why
their
that would be
computer,
very
right?
dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that is clearly part of what they've set up. There are uneven odds. You're going to have to think outside the box, and there can't be explicit rules except for don't actually blow each other up if you're going to play under those guidelines. So
I'll tell you what, I was excited. Like at this point, I was like excited for the characters to be at their stations and like doing stuff like that. And I was like, when it gets interrupted, I'm like, no, I kind of wanted to see how this plays out, you know?
Right?
The scene with them leading up to like starting the fight with the music and them like, all right, let's go get into our maneuvers. Everybody's really into it. Like there's a real sense of fun and adventure in this episode, which I really liked.
Did we note that it was Worf who came up with the plan?
Right.
Yet again.
Yeah.
He came up with the plan last episode when he was the fake Klingon captain of the Enterprise. And he really showed a resourcefulness when the woman that you were referring to asked where to find an optic cable, and he pulled one from his thing.
Yeah.
With
Becca,
a bunch
ability.
Hey.
Becca, I'm really glad you mentioned this because this kind of actually goes against, like, it kind of shows my confirmation bias about, remember when the beginning of us recording this podcast, I said we should track how often people shut Worf down? Because there was that montage that exists of people saying no to Worf and his ideas. Well, we've actually seen a lot of examples of him being incorporated to this stuff, and that montage doesn't exist. So it's like, I reinforced that belief in myself, and now we're seeing a lot of counter examples. So, like, I'm glad they were more fair to Worf than I was led to believe.
Thank you for acknowledging your confirmation bias, because God damn it, that would really change the world if more people could do that.
Yeah. We also see Worf grow, because at the beginning of the season, remember, that was his first time as this head of security. And so now leading up to being a first officer in a mock war game, you know, I think that really does show character growth and tactics and how he thinks about battle.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look up this montage of Worf getting denied. When you come up with a lot of ideas, half of them are going to get shut down.
There's another one, like Worf is bad at his job, and it's just him like attacking and falling over or missing or like punching a wall.
You remember when he punched the wall in that casino?
Yeah.
Or well, no, he tried to phaser it out of existence. He just tried to melt this wood panel.
He moved a casino game arcade.
He was trying to shove against the wall. He was literally trying to push it down, and he was in like a pocket dimension.
Yeah,
it's like the barbarian trying to smash his way out of astral space or something.
Right. But anyway, the Ferengi show up.
Then the Ferengi show. What are they doing here? This had nothing to do. Like, okay, I guess I get we should expect the unexpected in these scenarios. Like, that's kind of the lesson, and we're also trying to teach good old Sirna Kolrami about like how there are other situations, and you shouldn't do what is statistically the optimal choice. But like, it kind of seemed a little rando, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also seems like if you're setting up a war game, you should really inspect the perimeter of your playing ground to make sure no non-friendly vessels are within warp speed.
Yeah.
Well, that's just me.
Yeah. Well, they also didn't plant the seed early in the episode that the Ferengi could be out there. Like, they didn't say we're near Ferengi space or something like that. They were just like, well, here's a new problem.
I mean, no complaints. It was a fun twist of like, oh no, we're pretend fighting each other, and now we're vulnerable because we made the Hathaway be completely stripped of any real weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think too, they tried to establish the Ferengi as like the adversaries for this crew, and so they had like a quotient of episodes. So like we have to have at least like 3 or 4 Ferengi episodes to keep them in. Where can we shove that?
Yeah.
Oh, we need a bad person. Oh, let's just put the Ferengi in there.
I like the use of opportunism as a core tenet of Ferengi philosophy, and it's like, hold on. Weakness right there. Go for it.
Have they said the phrase like the rules of acquisition at all? Or have
Yeah.
they not got...
Yeah, they did in the
last
first
season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of the Ferengi since then, so we kind of dip in and out of their storylines, I feel.
Yeah.
And they only have 10 of their minutes to deal with the Ferengi.
10 of your Earth minutes, Hugh.
Yeah, it got me thinking, what is time out here? How do the Ferengi do it? I guess it makes sense because our time increments are based off of the sun, like the length of our year and the length of our day.
I imagine they judge time by how much money it's going to cost them while thinking.
Yeah, but does that go up and down with inflation?
You have $10 of our time.
It's all relative.
Yeah, you have to check the exchange rate to know how long that actually is.
Yeah.
So we devise a.
Wait, are we going to talk about the Ferengi actors?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I was going to ask you. Okay, so do you recognize the Ferengi actors?
I mean, it's not, but it's Quark. But
it
it's
is
not
Quark. And he was actually in the first Ferengi episode we saw, the Last Outpost, I think.
Yes.
And he's been a different Ferengi each time. But for those of you that don't know, Quark is a main character on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So the Captain Braktor, I believe his name is, that's played by the same actor whose name is Armin Shimmerman.
Yep.
And he just looks great in Ferengi ears.
He works. He works those ears.
Also, he nails the speech with the teeth, the prosthetic teeth, because not all of the actors who play Ferengi do, but he seems to have this down, which is why I bet they keep calling him back.
That'll book you a job right there.
Same with the intensity. Same with the intensity of his eyes, which I definitely remember much more as Quark. Like, he's a great, for lack of a better term, eye actor.
Right.
It's important, though. You can't, we naturally, when making eye contact with someone we're talking to, are going to switch eyes. And I started to watch a masterclass with Michael Caine from like the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Like, pick the eye close to the camera and you stick with it.
Yeah, he wants you to never blink on camera. I remember that.
Yeah,
right?
So specific, but it kind of stuck with me because it is noticeable when someone's eyes are moving and you're in a close-up. It's
also a way better way to connect with another person because there's so much subconscious stuff happening when you are making eye contact with a person.
Also, if you have really big eyes, it'll move you from being an extra in like the gangster storyline to a big Klingon later on.
Run! So we make the choice to sacrifice our own, right? And the Ferengi fall for it. But in truth, we just warped out of there really at the last millisecond. If they were off by a millisecond, the Hathaway would have been destroyed.
And they were using Wesley's science fair project.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Another person who was like lacking confidence because he was regarded to as a kid, right? And they built his confidence up.
Yeah. Kohlrami thought that their only option was to retreat, and this is a theme where Picard is told sacrifice some of your crewmates and he'll never leave someone behind, which is definitely just a pillar of who he is. So of course that's not going to happen.
Well, when you're thinking only in numbers in like a strategy game, you don't see the people behind it, and he doesn't know this crew and doesn't have the same sort of familiarity or attachment. So it makes sense that he would like advise that course of action.
Yeah, they're master tacticians, not master people.
Right. I forget too, is Picard the only one that knows that Wesley's like the chosen one, or was Riker in on that as well?
You mean from the whole Traveler episode? Oh man, I don't remember.
Picard forgot.
Well,
you just forget that someone's the chosen one.
Yeah, well, you know, they haven't been acting like it.
Oh yeah, aren't you the chosen one?
Because if I was Riker picking people for my ship, I would be like, okay, I want everyone and the chosen one. That's how you know you're not going to lose.
Yeah,
I know you're destined for greatness, so I'll take you on every mission.
And just any thoughts whatsoever, if you have them, just let me know. Open ear for you, Wesley.
That's interesting. I'll have to go back and look at what was said about him being the chosen one.
Or if he shared it.
I feel like you're right. It's only Picard knows that the Traveler kind of prophesied that. But even Picard's kind of suspicious of everybody who's master sentient, right? Like, because he's been through the whole Q ringer. So
exactly.
He doesn't. I don't blame him for not trusting time
with
travelers.
A grain of salt.
Yeah. Well, that was peak performance.
Oh, wait, we have to talk about the solution that Data came up with because I thought this was great too.
Of course. Yes, thank you.
In the game, he actually does come up with there is a way to quote unquote beat Kohlrami by just blocking his opportunities to win. And
stalemate.
It goes on forever.
That's pretty awesome. I love that choice. And another thing about Kohlrami is that he finally admitted that Riker was admirable.
Yeah.
Right before awkwardly slapping the new redhead extra on the bridge on the shoulder. And it was like, what dude? What? It was another of those great small character choices that the actor made to make this guy super awkward.
Right?
That extra, by the way, you guys might recognize Glenn Morshower. He's an actor who's been on a ton of things, and he actually comes back in Star Trek, I think, Generations. But he's, he's like always playing like a military person in like TV shows and movies and stuff like that.
I want to know the etymology of, you know how last names always come from someone's protection or something? They're like, oh, he really needs some more shower.
Yeah, a lot of sweat glands in that ancestry.
But about Strategema, that was a fun, like, I don't need to win. I just need to not let him win.
Yeah.
And in essence, I busted him up.
Yep. Which enrages Kohlrami. Like, people can't really follow what's happening. They think it's just a really high-scoring game. But he's like, you're making a mockery. Like, you won't let me win, even though I'm clearly better than you. And I like to think of this as, because this was the same era of, like, the PC was just being introduced with, like, solitaire and chess and stuff that you could play against, like, a prototype AI, a computer. So I feel like that's sort of the attitude they took of, like, anyone can beat a computer because that's level 1 of the chess game.
Right. Well, I think that this is why there needs to always be an ultimate win condition. And you need to have an alternate win condition, such as decking yourself, because sometimes people come up with an infinite loop and no game's fun that ends in a draw. Come on.
We did see the future equivalent of a table flip.
Yep.
Just plucking off the finger diddlies.
I just got reminded at the end of this too. Like, I'm not surprised Data lost his confidence because Pulaski said something which I found was kind of shocking, which is said, you're supposed to be infallible. Yeah. Which I realize means that he's not supposed to make mistakes, but like that would definitely sap my confidence. Like, I kind of get why he went down his logic circle.
Yeah, I say that to myself in the mirror every morning.
You're supposed to be infallible.
What are you doing?
Well, that was peak performance. And next week, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can join us for Shades of Grey, where Commander Riker fights for his life in sickbay after being infected by an alien parasite. But Dr. Pulaski soon discovers the only way to save Riker's life is to force his mind to relive painful memories. Which means I guess we'll be seeing the worst scenes of season.
Just Riker.
I hope we at least get 25 Shades of Grey.
But if you aren't a Patreon subscriber, we'll be kicking right on into season 3 with Evolution. Wesley's latest science experiment escapes the lab, threatening the Enterprise and an eminent scientist's lifelong project.
Wesley!
Jokes in one. One for some mischief, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't wait to get to the end of this season and get us some clip reels. So, engage. Nope.
Bust him up.
Bust him up. Bust him up. Bye.